Hey guys, today I'm going to be reading stories from the Reddit thread called People Who Have Interacted with a Psychopath, What Made You Realize They Were One. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I've worked with teenagers my entire career, and I'm fairly well versed in how mental illnesses can show up in middle/high school kids. We had one kid, let's call him Evan, not his real name. I generally understand why kids are popular, but this kid befuddled me. He wasn't charismatic in the hallway, he wasn't a party kid, he wasn't athletic, he wasn't funny, and he certainly wasn't kind. This kid always had fanfare and would pick out one other male peer and essentially friend love bomb them. He built these emotional bonds with them and then totally used it for his benefit. He would pick a teacher and mercilessly torment them. For example, for creative writing, he wrote about how a character in a story named Kevin, again, not real, but very close, had gone to a teacher's house that happened to have a dog like the teacher had, and he wrote graphically about how he tortured it, not kill it, but tortured it. He changed details just enough and said he was mimicking Vonnegut or something like that. When he got disciplined for it, he had the current favored male peer talk sense into the teacher. Yeah, this friend ended up getting suspended because of that talking sense. It was just threats that were used to protect Evan. When the friend came back from the suspension, his mom asked everyone to try and keep him away from Evan. Evan got in no trouble because he didn't think his friend would get aggressive, which he did. It was constant, and eventually he was placed in my class. He tried the old essay to scare the teacher thing again. He wrote about how a character not named Evan, but something mighty close, knew where a teacher that sounded like me lived and was planning on burning my house down with her entire family in it. The next day, I read it out loud to the class and asked them to give feedback all together during class. He didn't like that, especially because the girls who knew nothing of this drama before were horrified and deemed him a creep that they didn't like. He ended up moving the next year, and he's an adult, 18 plus now. Every now and then I Google his name because I truly don't know what damage a person that operates that effectively can do. My former spouse. She was charming, charismatic, beautiful, manipulative, pathological liar, emotionally and financially abusive. I dropped her off at the hospital so she could take over watching her mom to give her aunt and uncle a reprieve. Aunt and uncle informed me mother-in-law was doing well. I drove home, she called me 20 minutes later to say her mom suddenly died. She smothered her mother to death. After our divorce, I met with her stepmom and sister-in-law to talk about things. Unsolicited, they said they believe she smothered her mom. I nodded my head in agreement. It took years for me to realize, but I eventually saw that they never spoke a single word from their mouth that wasn't intended to manipulate and control others. Every single conversation and interaction was manufactured and not genuine. No genuine version of that person exists. They also took every opportunity to subtly put people down if they were threatened by them. Made people, including me, doubt ourselves deeply. Also, everything they did to control and manipulate others had a plausible deniability because they were so clever and careful about it. Everything was done in between the lines, so it was hard to prove. Eventually, those people almost always give themselves away, though, in my opinion/experience. I used to work for one. Every sincere, vulnerable moment was fabricated to prompt me to share my story so he could collect information to use against me. He used to get upset that he was so open with me and I was like a brick wall. Sir, I'm at work. He told me he used to live in London, his marriage opened, and he was lining up dates on his business trips. How he used to be romantically involved with his last assistant when they would travel together. He keeps his parents on a payroll to help them out, etc. None of it true, except him having blatant affairs. He would name drop people of influence saying so-and-so was an old friend, just compulsively lying to make himself seem important. He would fabricate dramatic situations that were my fault, so he would have an excuse to scream literally at me. Like wording a phrase just wrong enough that I would misstep. His eyes would go absolutely black. I started questioning when I met someone close to him in his personal life. I was asking, oh, was that when he lived in the UK? Insert confused expression. I got coffee with his former assistant and she told me she had never traveled with him, let alone had an affair with him. It was all a lie. I screenshot him making really obscene sexual comments toward me on Slack. Still not sure what to do with it all. Obviously, I don't work for him anymore. To say I had PTSD would be dramatic, but the emotional whiplash of someone being manipulative and having power over you left me scarred in unexpected ways for a long time. Now I just see him as a tiny piece of shit. I have a sibling who is a psychopath. They are just empty. They try thing after thing to fill the emptiness and move on to harming people or themselves when they can't. And there's an uncanny valley quality to them because of the emptiness. They do not respond in a normal, expected way to anything. They are cold, like someone doing an impression of a human. They are good at acting and putting on the charm, but most people catch a whiff of something that's not right, something off and strange. So most of their relationships are entirely superficial. It's very much a you know it when you see it situation. You know in your bones something is wrong and your brain says run, even if you're having a total banal conversation, and they always have been like this. They've just gotten better at acting to fool whoever they need to. I'm technically still married to one, although we have been in no contact for over 3 years. I can name 1,000 different things, but I will stick to one in the interest of time. One night, one of many similar nights, we argued and he assaulted me. Generally, this meant him biting and choking me. I was at perhaps the lowest point in my life, brainwashed, gaslit, torn down, so I got up the next morning and decided to make the best of it. I cooked all day and he stayed in the bedroom. I remember listening to music and just being in a really good mood. I made his favorite dinner and brought it to him in the bedroom. He was looking at his phone. I said I made your favorite dinner, and he looked at me and said, "You're so simple." That moment changed my life. It was a gift because I left the next day and never looked back. They put on a mask all the time. They treat a specific group of people they deem weak horribly while trying to maintain a good image with anybody else. The closest people to them will describe them being completely different than a colleague or a stranger they just met. And before you say everyone is like that, no, this is very different. There's a guy at my work like that. I've got pretty good hearing. He came in once and said something to Adam, not his real name, and laughed with him at something. Or more likely, someone. Then he walked by my desk, talked trash about Adam, and told me he only liked Adam to laugh at him and egg him on. Then he went around the corner and talked to Sue, and talked shit about me to Sue. After Sue left, he went into his supervisor and started mocking Sue to her. Later, I found out from the ITs that they no longer spoke to him because he was always ragging on one of them with another. He's still there, but most of them don't talk to him except for a handful of people in management. I work in a prison and I've dealt with literal psychopaths, diagnosed and all that. The best way I can describe it, and keep in mind, this is coming from someone who knew what they were going in. There's something missing in their brain, like you can see it in their eyes, and that there's a void behind them. And when they talk to you, it's just a big game. I'm not talking, oh, that's a lack of empathy, which it is, but an emptiness that is just not natural. Like inmates playing games, lies, manipulation, playing dumb to see what you know. It's part of their world. But with them, there's a lot of deliberation and measuring their interactions with you that just don't exist with the regular inmates. Like they are sizing you up, and man, you got to be very aware of what they are doing and just go along with it, sticking to policy, procedure, and your job. They love control and they're trying to get some of it with you, and you have to not allow it. I like to think I'm pretty good at reading people, but they'd stare at me sometimes when we were in bed together, and I'd simultaneously feel like they cared for me, that they were about to attack me at the same second. I can never fully read that look behind their eyes. It was like an ebbing and flowing between love and hate. It would create this push and pull in my gut where I was drawn to them, but also afraid of them. I started to catch out lies. I watched their movements change when no one was looking. Every word was calculated to manipulate something or someone. Their emotions were mimicking others rather than their own. I got out before they hurt me, and in the process found out what they'd done to many, many others. If you're reading this, you and your sibling should be in jail. Both of you should play in traffic. I fell in love with this guy who did a lot of hardcore sports. Dangerous stuff, all the time. I went through a seriously traumatic event when on my way to meet him for vacation. He had been so charming and made a lot of grand romantic gestures back then. He impulsively got us tickets to a cruise. I got to town a day before him to visit family. I went out with the friends the night before he arrived. Things went way wrong. When he got off the plane, he found out that I had been attacked. Instead of coming to me at the police station, he told me I should have fought harder and had ruined his vacation. He went on the cruise without me, went straight to the ship, and didn't even bother to see me. Broke my heart at one of the lowest moments of my life. When we got to talk about it later, I told him I'd always noticed his lack of empathy, thrill-seeking, impulsive behavior. I'd also noticed that he was always happy. He looked at me without a mask for a moment and told me that I was very observant. It was chilling. He could have moved on so easily from this charming guy who almost seemed altruistic to someone I didn't recognize. Used to work as a mental health nurse, so I saw people with diagnosed psychopathic traits. The thing that got me were their eyes. They could have the most brilliant, dazzling smile and have a contagious laugh, but their eyes were just flat, empty, lifeless. It sent chills down my spine every time.